I'm Paul Britton from Britton and Time Solicitors. We're a multi-legal law firm based in Brighton and in the West End of London, Mayfair. We specialise in mainly contentious law, so disputes, whether that be family, employment, or divorce, financial dispute resolution, as well as disputes that happen between neighbours, so property and landlord and tenant. I've been running my firm now for just over 4 years. We're coming up to our 5th year, so we're leaving the startup phase and moving into growth phase.
I think I'm going to start off the first question. I always like to start with goals.
Yeah.
Where do you see yourself in the next 5 years? Where are the goals? How far do you want to take things in this growth phase?
Yeah, well, I mean, I've always been a bit of an anomaly, so I don't really have many goals or such a great business plan. I'm a firm believer in that you take one day at a time, and if you do the right thing each day, then it leads you somewhere. It's almost like the true definition of karma. If you live your life being naughty and breaking the law and breaking the rules, you're going to end somewhere, and that usually is probably a court, and if you continue, then jail. But if you do the right things, so you tick all the right boxes, I think one of the questions you'll come on to later is about education, building that part of yourself, and education is so important, and then focusing on the next step. But my steps are always more what's right in front of me. As the firm's grown, there has become a need to plan a little bit further ahead. Yeah. So we are coming up to our 5th year, and we're about £3.3 million turnover. But by year 10, we hope to be 10 million. We're well on course to do that, and just continue and champion, a different type of law firm. And people say, well, lots of companies go on about being different, but what does it mean to be different? And so many people listen to this will probably hear everyone says they've got to be different. Yeah. But fortunately, in my field, in legal services, is law firms, actually their mentality is we've always done it like that. That's how we've always done it. So they have never really moved with the times. So you've got a lot of antiquated law firms. And I say a lot, you're up in the 90 percentile, 95% of law firms that just do it how they've always done it in the traditional way, which is probably why Britton and Time has gone from me on my own 4 years ago to 52 employees, 4 years later. People say that's good growth. I didn't know that was good growth, but it's just kind of happened, and I've just ridden this wave of clients and delivering results. So that's really the 10-year milestone. We're only 5 years away from that. Yeah. We are looking at the moment to expand corporate commercial.
Okay.
So law firms offer a vast range of legal services. I'm a litigator, so I deal with dispute resolution, and that obviously was my bread and butter. And then as we've grown, we've offered a broader spectrum, so moved into family, criminal defence, and we're always looking at what the next product is that can add to our full service. So it's corporate commercial. That's one of the big areas. We do a little bit of it at the moment. One of the things when you're a litigator and you do disputes, you actually get quite good at drafting the documents, because often they come to you when there's a fallout and the document doesn't cater for that particular dispute. So then we get better at drafting those documents because we know what to put in there to avoid the scenarios that we see at the end. Yeah. Corporate conveyancing and conveyancing in general, we need to start offering that as a firm, and more immigration. We do immigration, but just not massively. So they're the 3 areas that we would like to move into, and that's probably the 10-year goal.
Brilliant. Makes complete sense. You mentioned other law firms almost stuck in the times with everything, with technology progressing, taking its course. Do you see any changes in terms of technology you're going to have to be using?
We're seeing, I trained in a firm in London on Chancery Lane, and it was very much a paper system. We had paper files, we'd count the pages, everything. We would have a correspondence spike, so we'd have to hole punch and put it on the correspondence spike, and then we'd have an evidence slot, so we'd slip evidence into a slot. Wow. And then we'd create a bundle as we went, but all in paper. To now everything is on a management system that the one that we use is partly a product that you install on your desktop as well as cloud-based. So it's not a fully cloud-based solution is the point that I'm making. There are fully cloud-based solutions, but we've picked one that's a bit of a hybrid. and everything, a lot of things are done for us. So if we put evidence into a certain file, it will create the bundle for us.
Brilliant.
It will paginate it, it will tabulate it, and then we can just print it out. Sometimes we want to put the tabs in. Some of the courts have gone digital now. So the Supreme Court, for example, has no paper bundles. Everything is a digital bundle. But as you know, it's the newest court in our land. So you would hope that they were up to speed if it's new. So we're seeing a lot of technology. AI is a big thing, particularly for wills, trusts, those sort of documents, corporate commercial work like shareholders agreements, employee contracts. We're seeing a lot of AI there. They are using AI more and more in dispute resolution to read the documents for certain keywords and evidence that might be advantageous to your client's case. I've looked at a lot of it. Is it as good as a lawyer doing it, as a person doing it? I have to say still not. There are nuances to it that I'm sure you could teach an AI to have those nuances, but the problem is a lot of the people that are programming these AIs, they aren't litigators, they weren't solicitors. If they were, they tend to be failed lawyers. So they've kind of diversified into something else, which is AI. So they tend not to be so good at programming these days. So I haven't seen one yet that ticks all the boxes. They are good. They kind of do what they say, but they all come with a caveat.
Yep.
That that waivers their liability if it doesn't work. So I still think the traditional, in that sense, method of a solicitor, a trainee, a paralegal, or an associate going through the documents with the client first is, although it can be expensive, although seeing the cost of the AI, it's not any cheaper to use the AI. You might as well just pay a lawyer to do it properly, get it right the first time.
Makes sense.
So lots of technology coming through, from case management to artificial intelligence in everyday life and what we do. Is it daunting? I'm 41. I grew up with computers. We had Windows 3.1. You'll never even remember that. I know what the save icon means on Word, and it was a floppy disk. I even know the sound that it made do you know the sound the floppy disk used to make?
I've got no clue.
You have no idea.
I'm too young.
Just go shh.
Really?
That was the sound when you put a floppy in. So I've grown up with computers. I've grown up with technology. I've always adopted it and embraced it, and I'm still doing that now. And that follows through as a theme into my practice as well, because it benefits us, but it also benefits our clients.
Makes complete sense. Was there something right when you're at the start of your career, you're thinking about starting a business? What was the tipping point when you've gone, okay, I'm going to do this for myself now? What was it?
So my journey is quite interesting. I never was going to go into law. I was working in the city. I was working in a FTSE 100 firm called the Daily Mail and General Trust on High Street, Kensington. I left there and I did a 6-month placement at Daytona Motorsport, centralising all of their sales functions. And then I just wanted something more challenging. So I thought I would, and I'd accumulated some wealth. I'd been paying a mortgage and all the rest of it. So I thought I'd go and read law. Yeah, it was either law or medicine, and so I chose to read law. And when I finished that, I was going to go back to the city and just go back into employment. And one of my friends at university said, "Come to law school with me." And I was like, "I'm not going to go to law school." She said, "Oh, just come for the open day." So I went to law school for the open day, and then at the end, I was signing up and signing a check for double-digit thousands of pounds to do a 2-year LPC legal practice course as it was then. It's all moved now over to something called SQEs, which is the Solicitor's Qualifying Exam. It's all changed, but did that, and then some contacts that I had from the city had training contracts. Training contracts are quite hard to get for solicitors or people that want to be a solicitor. And I had a couple of offers, I had 3 offers, and I picked a boutique litigation firm. Went there, qualified, and I think I was 32 when I qualified. So I'm 41 now, so 9 years ago. And I didn't want, at that age, I found it very difficult working for people. My training contract was a nightmare for my boss, giving me instructions and telling me what to do. And I would just do what I wanted to do. And actually, I found when I asked my boss for help, it wasn't what I wanted to hear, or it was just totally off topic, and I'd have to go away and work it out on my own anyway. So So that's what I did. And there's a rule, though, that you can't start a law firm unless you've been practicing for 3 years. Well, I hadn't been practicing for 3 years. So what I did, I looked for a law firm for sale instead. And I found a sole practitioner in Brighton that wanted to sell his practice. So I bought his practice. I ran it with him for a year. And in 2020, he resigned. I wrote to our regulator, the SRA, and asked for an exemption to the rules so I could run my own firm because I'd been doing it for a year. Martin Ross gave me a glowing recommendation and they approved me. So I started my own firm.
Fantastic. I'm going to link this back to the education side of things.
Yeah.
So it's a double-handed question, really.
Yeah.
How did you do at school? And do you think the whole education system is important now? Is it useful with where everything's going with AI, softwares, new bits of kit? Is it useful?
Look, it is so important. Okay. And I've seen recently young people in particular complaining that they know Pythagoras' theorem and even more complicated mathematical formulas and equations than that. But at their age, they really ought not to be complaining about these things because what they're gaining is the skill of learning. So at law school, we learn about the law as it is today. I remember a student said to our lecturer, "Why do we learn case law when it's only going to change?" And the lecturer said, "That's a very good question. Does anyone know the answer?" No one knew the answer. And he turned around and said, "Well, look, because when all the law has changed or things have moved on, what is left is your skill of learning, of teaching yourself. So it doesn't matter what the law becomes, you will have that skill and you will be able to learn it and pick it up quickly." The same applies in schools. I mean, look, you have to learn English. You have to learn maths. You'll end up with, it stimulates the brain. It creates, look, I'm not a neurologist, right? I can't talk to you about the brain. I can only talk to you about things that I've read about it from scientists. You've got to challenge your brain like that. You've got to use your brain. You've got to work on it. We do not want a generation of people that only understand AI. There's got to be more to your bow than just that. You'll be very dull. You'll be very boring. I think I love the education system in this country. I think the syllabus is excellent. I think it's diverse. I think there are things they could teach in schools in addition to what they teach, but I think it is fit for purpose. It's worked very well. Yeah, we're one of the most successful countries in the world. It works in the States. The education system it works in the whole of the Western world. There is a reason that we live in this luxury and this success, and as a species we've done so well, and it's because of things like our educational system. Don't try and change it. Of course there are different ways of learning. Nothing's worse than when someone says to me, I say to them, "How do you like to learn?" And they say, "I like to learn from others." I have to say that's probably the easiest way to learn, because basically they don't really want to think for themselves. They want it to be spoon-fed to them. In my industry, I see it all the time. Lawyers come in, they just want to learn from you all the time, learn from you. There are things they can learn, tactics, but in terms of the law, you can teach yourself that. We can all read, fortunately, because of the good education that we have. We're all literate. So we can teach ourselves. And so much is being taken away from people, that ability of being able to teach yourself. You've got to take responsibility. Your life is your responsibility. There's so much today where people turn to the state and everyone else and says, "What are you going to do for me?" No, what are you going to do for yourself? And how can I give you the tools to get there? Back in the 90s and the noughties, you'd have an advert where it says, don't teach a man to fish. Give him the equipment to fish. Don't just send him like a net. Teach him how to do it. Teach him how to make the net, and he'll fish and catch fish and feed himself. Don't just send the food. People today seem to just want the food. Yeah,
I think lazy is the wrong word to describe it, but along those lines, people want it spoon-fed, as you said.
Margaret Thatcher said it best. The medicine may be harsh, right, but the patient requires it. Yeah. And people in this country, they may not like doing things for themselves or getting their finger out, and they may want it given to them. Yeah. I'm not saying everybody, but it is getting that way. Yeah. You need to do things for yourself and take responsibility.
Makes complete sense. I think I'm going to direct this next one to people potentially watching this, if they're a young, aspiring entrepreneur who wants to start their own business. What advice would you give them now approaching that 5-year mark of getting out of the phase of being a new business? What advice
growth
would you
phase.
give them? Yeah.
So in growth phase, you tend to, so when you're startup, you're desperate for clients.
Yeah.
You're desperate for new business. If I liken it to a law firm, people go to law firms because they know the name, they've been around for 100 years. Try starting one from scratch that no one's ever heard of. All my work came from pay-per-click, Google. Law firms don't do that.
No.
They're like, well, we've got our clients. We work on just our reputation. Great. What a luxurious position to be in. But you're not getting that new business from Google. I'm getting that. And your clients will get old and die, whereas I'm getting the young ones, right? And they're going to be with me forever. So they're really missing out on that opportunity.
Yeah.
So if someone was, if it's an entrepreneur, like I want to start an idea, the best people is just get on with it. Okay? Just get on with it. I saw a LinkedIn post this morning and it was just like fail, 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 fail. And the author had written fail so many times.
Yeah.
I thought, oh God. And I thought, I've never failed. But we all have different idea of what failure is. Of course I failed. But I never really saw them as failures. That's what's really weird about it. Like sometimes I didn't get a client. Yeah, if the author meant that's a fail, it is a fail. I've bid in with another law firm for a particular piece of work, and they go with the other law firm. And normally there's no detriment to me. I love criticism, right? So they say, I didn't go with you, Paul, because of this. I didn't go. That's what I can learn from. I actually don't like the compliments, although there is value in compliments when you're trying to acquire clients, because if they say, I went with you because of this and this and this, you can actually model that. You can actually monitor that, and you can see what is working. Some people say, I went to you because of your website. I went to you because of your media presence. And these things are great because some people will criticize me and say, you do media for vanity. It's the Paul Britton show. I assure you, it's not the Paul Britton show. The reason I do media is to up the profile of the firm so that we have better reach, we can get more clients. And when I hear feedback that they went with us because of those accolades, if I go on Talk TV or GM or Good Morning Britain or This Morning or something like that, and they say, and we're joined now by top solicitor or top defence solicitor, Paul Britton, those accolades are priceless. Clients see that. And there is a reason that the media keep coming back again and again and again. It's because we're impartial. We're not politically driven. We appreciate the separation of powers, that we are a function of the judiciary. And we don't wade into that. We don't let our emotions run away with us. If someone talks to me about Labour, I would rather talk about the new government, because it's not really about Conservative and Labour, it's about a new government and what the new government is doing. And I just think words like Labour and Conservative have so much stigma to it. There are people in these parties. There are people in government. It's about the people. It's about the ideas. It's about what they're going to do. And, dare I say, if they're going to get their finger out and do it. And if they're authentic and they do what they say they will do. And that is the best measure of politicians, if they can deliver. And as soon as they start coming out with excuses of why they can't do it, they start to lose, for me, a bit of credibility anyway.
Yeah.
So, advice, if you haven't done it, just get on and do it. You might fail, but you'll learn so much from that. But you never know, you might be successful. And if you don't start, you're just never going to know. And if it's not the right one, there'll be another opportunity. Okay? If you're moving out of that kind of new startup phase, which is arguably the first 4 or 5 years, and you're moving into your growth phase, you've got to nurture your clients, really focus in on them, drill down on who they are, understand who they are. It might be a Ryan in his 20s, starting his new business. What does he need in life? Okay, he's come to you for some corporate commercial advice. He's started a business. It's a joint venture, so he's come for a joint venture agreement, what we call a JVA. But has he got a will? Has he structured his estate in a way? Does he want to invest in property? If he's going to invest in property, is he going to do it for a business vehicle in his personal name? Send him for some tax advice. What is going to be more tax efficient in which vehicle to do it in? Come back to you. We'll do your will. We'll structure your estate. You might want to start a trust. You might become incredibly wealthy, and you might want to start a family investment trust. So it moves down the generations and change the beneficiaries around. That's what you've got to start doing later on. It's not all about those new clients now. It's about, although you should have given them excellent service, so they will stay with you anyway. But now it's time to go back and have a look at them. Who were they? Were they happy with your service? What other products and services have you got to sell them? Do they still need you? How can you know what this is like? How can you still add value? In your business, you know what this is like. You might help them with, some managing their marketing, but then they actually might want a plan, or they might want a campaign or something like that. It's all very different. Social media post is very different to a paid for campaign, and people don't always get that.
I think we're in a similar phase to you.
Go on.
Weirdly.
Shall we turn the terms and I'll ask you the question?
I started this 4 years ago.
Okay.
Now, and you've seen, obviously we've rebranded.
Yeah.
Gone for a rebrand.
So
We started
that's always
different.
risky
It was a bit nerve-wracking.
because you've got goodwill built up in your name. It's
We had a great reputation
Yeah.
built up through Mr. Media Agency,
yeah,
but we were losing out on big pictures because it was Mr.
yeah. But is it all about you?
No.
No. Okay. Well, that's the problem. So Britain and
Yeah.
Time. The problem with Britain and Time is, what is Britain and Time about Paul Britton?
Yeah.
And if I was to sell it and I left the business, that's a tricky bit for me. If the brand is all about you, I mean, you are a Mister. You
Yeah.
identify as a Mister,
Yeah.
so it's fine. But if it's actually a bigger picture than that,
Yeah.
long term, as you scale, you're going to have an issue. I had a friend who did she won't mind me saying, she had a business. She was a girl of my word, and she did copywriting. And she was like, well, it's not scalable. She was a girl of her word. It was okay when she was small. So now she's on top of the word.
Yeah.
Yeah, so her company is on top of the
Wow.
word. But she realised that as well. So I guess so. Advice to young entrepreneurs is really have a think about the name. And does it have legs? I didn't intend to grow Britain and Time. Okay, I'm a victim of happy clients and good reach and lots of clients coming through the door. I was going to be a sole practitioner, but I'm a bit of a yes man. So if you come to me with a bit of work, I'll take it.
Yeah. You'll make it work.
I'll make it work, yeah, and I'll fit it in. I remember once I worked 44 days in a row, including weekends, 14-hour days, just working solid. I think that's the closest I've ever come to burnout.
Wow.
I'm not a lover of the word burnout because I don't think it really plays much relevance in most people's working lives these days.
No.
But that 44 days, 14-hour days, back to back, that was, something.
I think it's always, I've been there when I first started, you've got to do the long hours.
You just got to work a Saturday. You just got to work a Sunday. Sometimes you have to.
I think that was really probably, I didn't ever reach burnout with it. It was probably one of the most fond moments I had.
But you're very young.
That is another thing.
You'll be surprised how much stress you could probably put yourself under at your age.
That is another thing, but
Yeah.
I haven't bent yet.
No, but you also love what you do.
That's another
This
thing.
is your passion.
Yeah. So obviously stress is quite a big thing
Yeah.
when you're running a business, maintaining a business. How do you handle that, but also maintain a personal life, having that work-life balance? And the third question, do you have that?
Everyone who knows me right now will probably be gritting their teeth at the screen because the answer that's going to come out. I don't suffer from stress. Okay, there's not many people that can say that. I'm such a relaxed, like easygoing kind of person that I take everything in my stride.
Yeah.
So it's a really bad question to ask me. Work-life balance, what's the difference? I have to say, this is life.
Yeah.
We all have to work. You have to work to live. I think there's too much emphasis these days put on a work-life balance. I think there's too much emphasis put on switching off. Who wants to switch off?
Not me.
I want to be switched on
Yeah.
all the time. I want to be on it. If a client phones me and I'm sitting on Miami Beach with my laptop playing, I don't know, Minecraft or whatever they play,
Yeah.
and the phone rings, I'm on straight away. I take that call.
Yeah.
Professional services, a lot of people think they're in professional services, right? You're not in professional services if you're not regulated. We're regulated by the SRA, this is regulatory authority, and we are professionals, and we have to work when our clients want us to work. That's part of it. If you don't like it, right, then there are other professions, right?
Yeah.
I won't name any because I don't want to upset any, but there are other professions. Working in a bank, for example, they don't even work 9 till 5 anymore. Okay, I think the bank's open like 10 till 3, still a full hour lunch break. Go and work in a bank. If that's what you want, I'm not knocking it. There are lots of, and I'll say plodders, and everyone's like, I'm not a plodder. Well, I'm not saying it to be insulting. It's just a description of what you do. You just plod around in your job. You turn up, you do a bit of work, you have your hour lunch break, you come back. Professional services aren't like that. You've got to be there for your clients. What happens in that courtroom will be with them for the rest of their life. If you mess it up, you'll go home to your family. You get in your car, you drive home, you put your feet up, you get your pipe out, you'll have a cigar, you put your feet up, your wife will bring you a bottle of whiskey, a glass of whiskey or whatever, and you'll chill out by the fire. That client, it will be with them for the rest of their life. You've got to do a good job by them. It's almost like a doctor giving surgery to someone. Yeah. If the surgeon messes it up, it's going to have life-changing consequences. The difference between a doctor and a lawyer is you're paying your lawyer for that service. You are paying to go through the pain of litigation. You've got to do the best for them. And criminal defense, for example, some people say, how do you defend criminals? Well, one, they tell me they're innocent. Okay, so they're not a criminal, and everyone's innocent until proven guilty. I've got to give them a vigorous defense because as a society, as a civilized society, I think people forget that about being civilized. We have to make sure they're guilty because we're going to lock them up. We are going to take away their civil liberties. We're going to incarcerate them for more than a day.
Yeah.
For more than 2 years. If someone gets sentenced for less than 2 years, you can get a suspended sentence, so they don't have to go in, right? It's just if they're naughty, they have to go in then, right? So they can go home. But if it's over 2 years, you can't get a suspended sentence. You've got to go and serve your time. So if the lawyer doesn't get it right, they're going to jail. That's going to be with them forever and their family. And there are often miscarriages of justice where people are proved innocent at a later date. If you think back in the day where they used to hang people, what if you get it wrong then?
That's a very bad consequence.
So criminal defense lawyers play a very important role in a civilized society because we have to be sure we've got the right person.
Makes complete sense. I'm going to jump straight through.
So work-life balance, I just don't see the difference.
No.
I remember someone telling me that they started taking Fridays off to have as a mental health day. And I was like, what was wrong with Saturday and Sunday? We're quite lucky that we have Saturday and Sunday off. In a lot of countries, I have to say a lot of productive countries, a lot of countries that are coming through that on the global stage we ought to be watching, work 7 days a week. We don't do that anymore. We work 5. In fact, we barely work 5.
Scrape by.
If we want to maintain our position in the world, we have to work harder, not less.
I'm going to fire my next question.
Go on.
Straight at you, based off of that. It's all about productivity, keeping efficient.
Yeah.
What does your morning routine look like?
Morning routine. I get up at 4.
Okay.
4 or 5 every day. I have porridge. I cook porridge with goji berries, strawberries, bit of granola, extra bran. And then I read the news, check emails almost straight away. I'll probably spend an hour, hour and a half, maybe 2 hours doing that. And then we're up to about 6, half 6. I'll go to the gym or I'll go for a run. And I'm ready to work at 8, 9 o'clock. Properly work at 8, 9 o'clock. I've already done some. But I find that approach I think it's healthy. I think it's good to get up early at the crack of dawn. I actually think in men, it's actually in our nature to get up early and we feel better about ourselves. We have high self-esteem if we're that sort of person. Some people talk about, self-esteem. Fortunately, I've got bundles of it. I can share it. But people that have low self-esteem, it's, I remember I was in the gym once and 2 of my mates, one of them was a big muscle boy and one of them was just starting out. He was a bit chubby. And he turned to my fit mate and said, it's all right for you. You've got self-esteem. You've got a 6-pack. And I was like, I don't think it's about the 6-pack per se. I think it's the fact that he has routine, which is good for him, that he's the sort of person that comes to the gym. He's the sort of person that works out. I don't think the self-esteem comes from the end result.
No.
I think self-esteem comes a lot earlier than that. It's the sort of person that has the self-discipline. I think discipline is the key word. When the last government said they were going to introduce national service, I thought that'd be great for people. I really did. I mean, it's easy for me to say because I'm past the age of having to do national service. But I think I'd love to have done national service. I think it would have probably really helped structure me a lot more when I was younger, things that I came to appreciate a lot later in life.
Yeah, makes complete sense. What, in terms of discipline, how do you keep so disciplined, or do you?
I don't know. Willpower. When I see people that don't do it, I think they have no willpower. It's like quitting smoking.
Yeah.
My dad only quitted smoking once he got lung cancer and had to have his lung cut out. And then he started vaping. So you have managed to quit smoking, but you've moved on to vaping. Like, what? Like, just don't pick it up anymore. No. But I am that disciplined where I'm the sort of person that's like switching a light switch. It's click, and it's a switch now. Gone from on to off, and I will just put something down.
Do you see, is motivation a thing, or is it just discipline?
Motivation. So I've always said that I can't motivate you. I can never motivate my staff.
Yeah.
It's just not possible. Again, people have to take responsibility for motivation. It doesn't come from their heart, but it does come from within. It comes from within you, right? Yeah. But I can give you incentives. I can incentivize you. I can give you opportunities and a job and salary and the opportunity to have a pay rise. But I can't get you out of bed in the morning.
No.
That's got to come from you. You've got to motivate yourself to get up and get out of bed. And the rest, and the incentive is success. But we all have a different idea of what success is, don't we? So, is it money? Is it things? I think success is just doing stuff. Just being the doer, not the I was going to. You hit those sort of people.
Yeah.
I was going to do this. I was going to do that. Oh, right, okay. I've got no time for that. It's like, so what are you doing now? Oh, I'm just in a gap. Oh, right. So you're doing nothing then.
It's interesting, I think. You referred to, obviously, when you're looking at people within your team. How do you decide somebody's the right fit to come and work with you? What characteristics?
We have to be authentic with them. So you've got to explain to them what sort of business you are, and what you expect from them at day one. So if it's a 9 till 6 with an hour lunch break, that's what you expect. Sometimes we do a little bit more, sometimes we do a little bit less, but we'll get the job done. Every business needs different people. You can't grow a business of high achievers. You can't all be at the top. You actually, ironically, do need people that settle for mediocrity, that just look straight ahead, people that don't look up. They're just happy with their lives. You need that. You can't have every customer service agent moving into a paralegal, or you'll just be forever recruiting customer service agents. And what you actually lose as a business is once someone gets good at that job and they move up, there's a massive skill shortage, and your business will lose money.
Yeah. So
you do need career administrators. You do need career paralegals. You need people that we can't all look up. That's what I always say. Yeah. But solicitors, arguably, have arrived. They've looked up and they've got to a point where socially they're doing quite well, aren't they? But everybody looks up. Someone said to me once, you've made it. It's all right for you. You've made it. I still look up at the next stage. I look at the next man, and I still want to move up.
That's the way to do it, though. That's how do you compare yourself with competitors? How do you get the one up on them? What makes you different as a business? What is it?
I get asked this all the time, and sometimes I think if I tell you, they'll hear it and they'll learn and they'll know what to do. But you know what? They're so hopeless that they wouldn't. And even if they did, my competitors say, oh yeah, I get that, I'm going to start doing that. They haven't got it.
No.
They just don't get it. I think in your field, you probably see it more than most. They come to you with some grandiose idea, but they don't know how they're going to get from, they're at like F. Yeah. And you're like, okay, but how are you going to get to F? Well, just do it. No. What's your A, your B, your C? And there's nuances to all of that, and there's right steps. I think we genuinely put, one of our values is genuinely putting our clients first, not just saying that we will. We are still on the traditional billable hour. Okay, so every hour I work on your case, you have to pay for. Some competitors have said we're all fixed fees, and that's just so short-sighted. Because I had a corporate commercial. There's a corporate commercial firm in Hove, Brighton, and one of their clients came to me and they were like, look, we're doing an M&A. It's taken 18 months and the solicitor's just telling me to sign it. I was like, what do you mean? They're like, well, they're not advising anymore. They're not getting involved. They're quite rude on the phone to me. I was like, well, how much have you paid? She said £5,000 plus VAT. Yeah, but for 18 months work, right, that's not a lot of money.
No, that's not
okay. So I think
yeah.
that solicitor who's acting for her has just fallen out of love with it. It's like, I'm probably down, it's taken 18 months. The amount of hours I've put into this, they're probably down to £10 an hour.
Yeah,
Well, I'm Paul Britton from Britton and Time Solicitors. You can Google Britton and Time Solicitors and find us there.